Have you ever found yourself asking, why does everything seem to go wrong just when I need things to work out? Or, why do tough times always come when I least expect them? These are questions we all face, and sometimes it feels like nothing is going our way. But have you ever thought about what staying positive during those tough times could do for you? What if the way you handle those difficult moments could completely change your experience? Imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. Stress builds, frustration kicks in, and suddenly everything feels like it's falling apart. But what if, instead of letting anger and anxiety take over, you took a deep breath and saw the situation differently? What if you could stay calm and positive, even when the world around you feels chaotic? This simple shift in perspective could make all the difference in how you feel and how the rest of your day unfolds. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. In this series, we will explore the profound ways staying positive during tough times can transform your life. Through the lens of Buddhist philosophy, we will guide you on how to remain calm and resilient, even when things seem hopeless. We will dive deep into practical ways to keep your mind clear and your heart strong when nothing seems to go right. So stay tuned, as there's a lot more coming your way. Before we continue, I want to share a little something with you. Did you know that this channel has so many views, but only 0.2% of you have subscribed? If you're enjoying this content, please take a moment to hit the like button, leave a comment, and share this video with someone who could use it. And don't forget to subscribe. We've got plenty of valuable insights coming your way, and you won't want to miss out. Now, let's begin our journey of understanding how staying positive through adversity can bring about personal growth and a more peaceful life. In this video, we'll break down how the teachings of Buddhism offer tools to navigate difficult times. Understanding the nature of suffering, the Buddhist perspective. Let's begin with something that we all experience in life, suffering. We all have moments when life feels heavy, when pain or hardship comes our way, and it feels like there is no escape. Whether it's a difficult relationship, losing a job, or feeling overwhelmed by stress, suffering is a part of being human. But have you ever wondered why we suffer in the first place? Why is it that no matter how much we try to avoid pain, it still finds us? In Buddhism, the concept of suffering is at the heart of understanding life. The Buddha himself taught that life is filled with suffering, not as a way to make us feel hopeless, but as a way to help us understand it better. In fact, understanding suffering is the key to overcoming it. Let's take a closer look at this idea. According to Buddhism, suffering is something that everyone goes through. It's part of the human condition. No one can escape it. You might be the richest person in the world, but you can still suffer. You could have the perfect family, the best job, or all the material things you could wish for, but suffering can still find you. This is because suffering doesn't only come from external things. It often comes from within us. It's how we respond to life, how we deal with things that don't go our way. One of the key teachings in Buddhism is that suffering is caused by our attachment. We suffer when we cling to things, when we try to hold on to something that is always changing. Think about it for a moment. We often find ourselves attached to things like success, relationships, or material possessions. We believe that if we have these things, we'll be happy. But life is always changing, and nothing stays the same. When we lose these things, or when they change, we suffer because we were attached to them. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you have a favorite cup. You love this cup. It's the perfect size, the perfect shape, and you use it every day. One day, by accident, the cup breaks. How do you feel? Most likely, you'll feel upset, disappointed, maybe even angry. Why? Because you were attached to that cup. You had an expectation that the cup would always be there for you. But cups, like everything else in life, are temporary. They can break, they can be lost. And when that happens, we feel pain. Now, what if you approach that cup with the understanding that one day, it might break? What if you knew that it wasn't permanent, and that its time would eventually come to an end? You might still feel a little sad when it breaks, but you wouldn't suffer as much. You would be able to let go more easily, because you weren't as attached to it. This is what the Buddha taught. Suffering comes from our attachments, to people, to things, to ideas, to expectations. And when we learn to let go of those attachments, we begin to reduce our suffering. But that's not all. There's another important aspect to suffering in Buddhism. The Buddha also taught that suffering is caused by our desires. We constantly want things. We desire success. We desire comfort. We desire happiness. And when we don't get the things we desire, we feel frustrated, disappointed, or even angry. Desire creates a cycle of suffering because it's never-ending. Once we get something we want, we immediately start wanting something else. It's like chasing after something that we can never fully catch. Take a moment to think about your own life. How often do you find yourself wanting something? It could be a new phone, a promotion at work, or even someone's approval. These desires drive us, but they can also trap us in a cycle of never being fully satisfied. Once you get that new phone, there's always a newer model on the horizon. Once you get that promotion, you might start wanting another one. And the cycle continues, leaving us feeling like we're always chasing after something. Buddhism teaches that in order to break free from suffering, we need to recognize and understand this cycle of desire and attachment. We need to see how our desires fuel our suffering and how our attachments keep us from being truly at peace. It's not that we should never have desires or never care about anything. It's about finding balance. It's about being aware of our desires, understanding them, and not letting them control us. There's a famous teaching in Buddhism called the middle way. It's about finding balance in life. Instead of living in extremes, either completely indulging in your desires or trying to deny them entirely, the middle way teaches us to find a balanced path. It's about not letting desires take over your life, but also not forcing yourself to ignore them completely. When we live in balance, we can find peace, even in the midst of suffering. This doesn't mean that life will suddenly be free from all pain or hardship. We will still face challenges, we will still experience loss, and we will still have moments where things don't go our way. But by understanding the nature of suffering and how it is connected to our desires and attachments, we can begin to navigate those tough times with more clarity and calmness. The next time you find yourself in a difficult situation, take a moment to reflect. Are you suffering because of the situation itself, or because of your attachment to how things should be? Are you feeling pain because you're holding on to something that is changing or slipping away? By asking these questions, you can begin to see suffering for what it really is and start to let go of it. Buddhism offers a simple but profound path to reduce suffering. It starts with understanding that suffering is part of life, but it doesn't have to control us. By recognizing our attachments, observing our desires, and finding balance in the way we live, we can begin to move through life with more ease, even when things get tough. In the following parts of this series, we'll explore how we can apply these teachings to everyday life. We'll look at specific practices, like mindfulness and meditation, that can help us stay centered and positive in the face of challenges. But for now, remember this: suffering is a part of life, but it doesn't define life. By understanding it, we can learn to move beyond it and find a deeper sense of peace, no matter what life throws our way. The Four Noble Truths and Positivity. Welcome, listener. Today, we will embark on a journey into one of the most fundamental teachings in Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths. These teachings are ancient, but their wisdom is timeless, and they hold a special key to understanding how we can stay positive in the face of life's difficulties. You see, life is full of ups and downs, moments of happiness and moments of pain. But the way we respond to these challenges can transform the way we experience life. Let's begin with a simple question. What is suffering? When things go wrong, when we face tough times, what do we call it? We often label it as suffering. But suffering is not just the big, painful events in life. It's also the small moments, getting stuck in traffic, losing something valuable, or feeling frustrated when things don't go as planned. In Buddhism, suffering is a central concept, and the Four Noble Truths show us how to understand it, and, more importantly, how to move beyond it. The first noble truth: the truth of suffering. The first of the Four Noble Truths is that life contains suffering. In the original teachings, this is called dukkha. It's important to understand that suffering is a part of life. Everyone experiences it, no matter who they are or where they come from. The suffering can be physical, like illness or injury, or emotional, like disappointment or loss. Even when we have everything we want, we can still suffer because we fear losing it. But why does this matter? Why would we want to focus on suffering when it feels so negative? Here's the key. Recognizing suffering for what it is helps us become more aware. Instead of running away from it or pretending it doesn't exist, we acknowledge it. This awareness is the first step in transforming our experience. When we stop denying the reality of suffering, we can start to deal with it in a positive way. For example, think about the last time you were upset about something small, like someone cutting you off in traffic. In that moment, the frustration feels overwhelming. But if you acknowledge it, if you simply say, "Yes, I'm feeling frustrated right now," you've already begun to defuse the emotional charge. It's not about ignoring the problem, but about facing it calmly and with clarity. This is the first step towards staying positive even when things go wrong. The second noble truth, the cause of suffering. The second noble truth tells us that suffering has a cause, and that cause is attachment or craving. In simple terms, this means that we suffer because we want things to be a certain way. We want comfort, happiness, success, and stability, but life is always changing. When we become attached to these desires, we set ourselves up for disappointment. It's not the challenges themselves that cause suffering, it's our attachment to how we think things should be. Imagine holding onto a rope tightly, trying to keep it from slipping through your fingers. The harder you grip, the more it hurts. Life is like that rope. It's constantly moving, and trying to control it only leads to more pain. When we're attached to the idea that everything must go our way, we struggle. But when we loosen our grip, when we accept that life is unpredictable, we can find a sense of peace. Now, this doesn't mean we shouldn't have goals or desires. It means we should be mindful of how much we cling to them. When we stay open to the idea that life can change at any moment, we become more resilient. Instead of fighting against the current, we learn to flow with it. This is how we cultivate positivity, even when things don't go as planned. The third noble truth, the end of suffering. The third noble truth is one of hope. It tells us that there is a way to end suffering. This might sound impossible. After all, life is full of challenges, right? But the Buddha taught that while we can't stop difficult situations from happening, we can change the way we respond to them. By letting go of attachment and embracing acceptance, we can find peace in any situation. Think about a time when you let go of something that was bothering you. Maybe it was a grudge, a disappointment, or an expectation. At first, holding on to it felt justified. But when you finally released it, how did you feel? Lighter? Freer? That's what the third noble truth is about. It's the realization that we don't have to be stuck in suffering. We can let go of our attachments, and in doing so, we find a way to live more peacefully, no matter what challenges come our way. This doesn't mean we ignore our problems. Instead, it's about approaching them with a different mindset. When we stop fighting against reality and accept things as they are, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We can find solutions we hadn't seen before, or simply let go of the need to control the outcome. This is the path to a more positive life. The fourth noble truth, the path to the end of suffering. The final noble truth is the path that leads to the end of suffering. In Buddhism, this path is called the Noble Eightfold Path, but for now, let's focus on the idea behind it. The path is not about avoiding challenges or escaping from reality. Instead, it's a guide to living a balanced and mindful life. It shows us how to think, act, and live in a way that reduces suffering and increases our sense of peace and positivity. At its core, the path is about mindfulness. It's about paying attention to how we think, how we speak, and how we act in the world. When we live mindfully, we become more aware of our thoughts and feelings. We notice when we're getting attached to something, and we can choose to let it go before it turns into suffering. We learn to respond to life with calmness and clarity, rather than reacting with fear or anger. One of the key aspects of this path is compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we approach life with compassion, we're more forgiving, more understanding, and more patient. We stop blaming ourselves and others for the way things are, and we start focusing on how we can make the best of every situation. This compassionate, mindful way of living is the heart of staying positive in tough times. Staying positive through the Four Noble Truths. So how do the Four Noble Truths help us stay positive when nothing seems to be going our way? First, we recognize that suffering is a part of life, and that's okay. It's not something to be afraid of or to run from. Next, we understand that our suffering often comes from our attachment to how we think things should be. When we let go of that attachment, we free ourselves from a lot of unnecessary pain. Then, we realize that we don't have to stay stuck in suffering. We have the power to change our perspective, to let go, and to find peace in any situation. Finally, we follow the path of mindfulness and compassion, living in a way that brings more balance, kindness, and positivity into our lives. The Four Noble Truths are not just ancient teachings. They are practical tools that can help us navigate the challenges of modern life. By embracing these truths, we can learn to stay positive even when life is difficult. We can find peace even in the midst of chaos. And we can live with more joy even when things don't go as planned. This, dear listener, is the path to true positivity. The role of mindfulness in overcoming challenges. You've come to learn about mindfulness. Good. Sit for a moment, breathe deeply, and let us talk about this ancient practice. You see, mindfulness is not just a tool to calm your mind. It is the foundation of living peacefully, especially when life feels overwhelming. You might think that the mind is just a place where thoughts come and go, but in truth, it is much more than that. The mind is your greatest ally, or your greatest obstacle, depending on how you train it. Mindfulness means living fully in the present moment, aware of what is happening inside and around you. Many of us live our lives on autopilot, reacting to situations without thinking, feeling stressed about what might happen or regretting what has already happened. But what if you could learn to slow down? What if you could learn to truly see and hear what is happening right now, instead of being swept away by the storm of thoughts and emotions? This is where mindfulness comes in. In times of difficulty, our mind can become a battlefield. We wrestle with our worries, fears, and doubts. And yet, when we practice mindfulness, we stop fighting. Instead, we observe. We learn to see things as they truly are, without adding extra layers of worry or frustration. When you're mindful, you're fully present. You don't get lost in the past or anxious about the future. You simply experience the now. For example, when you're going through a tough time, like a disagreement with a friend or facing a big challenge at work, it's easy to let the mind spiral. What if they don't like me anymore? What if I fail? The mind loves to create stories, and soon, you feel trapped in these thoughts. But mindfulness teaches us to step back. Instead of getting caught in these thoughts, we observe them. We say, there is that thought again, and we let it go. It's like watching clouds pass through the sky. You don't have to chase the clouds. You simply let them float by. Now, I understand, this is easier said than done. The mind is tricky, always pulling us into old habits of overthinking and reacting. But through practice, you can train your mind to stay centered. Mindfulness is like a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes. One of the simplest ways to practice mindfulness is through the breath. The breath is always with you. It is a constant in your life, even in the most stressful situations. When you focus on your breathing, you bring your attention back to the present moment. No matter how tough the situation is, you can always take a deep breath and return to the now. Let's try it together. Take a deep breath in. Feel the air fill your lungs. Now breathe out, slowly. Pay attention to how your body feels as you breathe. Notice any tension and let it go with each exhale. This is the beginning of mindfulness, just being with your breath, noticing it, without judgment. When you become mindful, you can also start to see things more clearly. In difficult moments, our emotions often cloud our vision. We may feel anger, fear, or sadness, and these emotions can make it hard to see the truth. But when you practice mindfulness, you begin to see things as they truly are. You realize that the challenges in life are not as overwhelming as they first appeared. The storm in your mind starts to calm, and you can face your problems with greater clarity and peace. Buddhism teaches us that life is full of ups and downs. This is part of the human experience. We cannot avoid challenges, but we can change how we respond to them. Through mindfulness, we develop the ability to stay calm in the face of difficulties. Instead of being swept away by the waves of our emotions, we learn to ride them with a sense of balance and grace. Mindfulness is not just about calming your mind, though. It's also about awareness. When you practice mindfulness, you become more aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. You start to notice patterns in your thinking. Perhaps you always react with anger when someone criticizes you. Or maybe you tend to avoid difficult situations instead of facing them head-on. When you become aware of these patterns, you have the power to change them. In Buddhism, we talk about the concept of right mindfulness, which is one of the steps on the Noble Eightfold Path. Right mindfulness means paying attention to the present moment in a skillful way. It's about being fully present without getting lost in distractions or emotions. When we practice right mindfulness, we see things as they truly are, not as we wish them to be. Let me share a small story. There was once a man who came to a Zen master, feeling very troubled. He said, "Master, I am constantly overwhelmed by worries. I can't seem to find peace." The Zen master smiled and handed him a cup of tea. He said, "Drink this tea, and focus only on the taste of the tea, the warmth of the cup in your hands, and the sensation of swallowing." The man did as he was told, and for a moment, his worries disappeared. He realized that by focusing on the present moment, he could find peace even in the midst of his troubles. The tea was just an example, but the lesson was clear. By being mindful, we can find peace, no matter what challenges we face. This story reminds us that mindfulness is available to us at any moment. Whether you're drinking tea, washing dishes, or walking outside, you can practice mindfulness. By paying attention to what you're doing in the present moment, you bring your mind back to a place of peace. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, but what about the big problems in life? Can mindfulness really help with those? The answer is yes. You see, mindfulness does not make your problems disappear, but it changes how you relate to them. Instead of reacting out of fear or frustration, you respond with calm and clarity. You are no longer controlled by your emotions. You become the master of your mind. When life throws challenges your way, remember that you have the power to stay grounded through mindfulness. You don't have to be swept away by the storms of life. Instead, you can be like the calm center of the storm, steady and peaceful, no matter what is happening around you. So, take this lesson of mindfulness to heart. Begin with small moments, breathe, observe, and be present. And when tough times come, as they surely will, you will be ready to face them with calm and strength. Your mind is your greatest ally on this journey. Train it well, and you will discover a deep reservoir of peace that no external challenge can take away. In this way, mindfulness becomes not just a practice, but a way of life. Through mindfulness, you can find clarity in chaos, peace in pain, and strength in struggle. It is the key to staying positive in even the most difficult times. Embracing impermanence. Nothing is permanent. Impermanence. The truth that nothing lasts forever. It can be a difficult idea to accept at first, but once you begin to understand it, you realize how freeing it truly is. Everything in life is constantly changing, shifting like the wind, moving like a river. Impermanence is the nature of all things, and once we come to terms with that, we can begin to find peace, even in tough times. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Think about the happiest moments you've had, those fleeting times when everything seemed just right. Where are they now? They are memories, aren't they? Moments that pass through your life like clouds drifting in the sky. And what about the hardest times? The moments of pain, sadness, or confusion? Even those, though they felt overwhelming at the time, have passed. They did not last forever. You see, everything, both joy and sorrow, is temporary. In Buddhism, this idea of impermanence is central to understanding life. The Buddha taught that everything in existence is subject to change. Our feelings, our thoughts, our bodies, and the world around us. When we hold on tightly to things, whether they are people, situations, or even our own emotions, we suffer. Why? Because we are trying to make something permanent that is, by its very nature, temporary. Let me share with you a simple story to illustrate this point. There was once a wise man who lived in a small village. People would often come to him with their problems, asking for advice. One day, a young man came to him in tears, deeply heartbroken over the loss of a relationship. "I can't take this pain anymore," the young man cried. The wise man simply looked at him and said, "This, too, shall pass." The young man was confused by this response. How could those few words help him in his time of need? But over time, he began to understand. The pain he felt so deeply that day eventually faded, just like all things do. Nothing is fixed, nothing is forever. Even the hardest moments will pass. You see, when we learn to embrace impermanence, we stop resisting the flow of life. We stop clinging to what we want and fearing what we don't want. Instead, we start to flow with life, understanding that change is not our enemy, but our teacher. But how does this help you stay positive in tough times? Let's take a deeper look. When we are faced with difficult moments, whether it's the loss of a loved one, the failure of a dream, or simply the daily struggles of life, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. It's easy to believe that things will always be this way, that the pain will never end. But impermanence reminds us that this isn't true. Just as joy comes and goes, so does pain. Just as the sun rises and sets, so too do our challenges. Nothing is permanent, and this means that no matter how difficult things may seem, they will change. This truth offers us hope, even in our darkest times. Impermanence also teaches us to let go. Often, our suffering comes not from the situation itself, but from our refusal to let go of how we think things should be. We hold on to the past, or we cling to the future, imagining that things will always be the same. But life doesn't work that way. Things change. People change. Circumstances change. The more we try to hold on, the more we suffer. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you keep your hand open, the sand stays there, resting gently in your palm. But the moment you squeeze your fist, trying to hold on tightly to the sand, it begins to slip through your fingers. Life is like that sand. The tighter we hold on, the more it slips away. But if we can relax our grip, allowing life to flow naturally, we find peace. Another important lesson we can learn from impermanence is gratitude. When we truly understand that nothing lasts forever, we start to appreciate the present moment more deeply. We realize that the people we love, the experiences we enjoy, and even the challenges we face are all temporary. This realization makes us more mindful, more present, and more grateful for what we have right now. Instead of taking things for granted, we begin to cherish them, knowing that they won't always be here. Let's say you're going through a tough time right now. Perhaps you've lost a job, or you're dealing with a difficult relationship, or maybe you're struggling with your own emotions. It's easy to feel stuck, as if things will never get better. But remember, this is just one moment in time. It won't last forever. Just like the seasons change, so too will this moment. Winter always gives way to spring, no matter how long or cold it may seem. The Buddha often compared life to the seasons. He said that we go through cycles, just like nature. There are times of growth, times of decay, times of stillness, and times of movement. Just as the trees shed their leaves in autumn and bloom again in spring, so too do we go through phases of loss and renewal. When we understand this, we can begin to see that every difficult moment is not the end, but simply part of the cycle of life. And so, the next time you find yourself struggling, remind yourself of this simple truth. Nothing is permanent. This too shall pass. When you feel overwhelmed by pain or sadness, know that it will not last forever. When you feel lost, remember that you will find your way again. When you feel like giving up, trust that change is already happening, even if you can't see it yet. Embracing impermanence doesn't mean that we stop caring or that we become indifferent to life. On the contrary, it allows us to care more deeply and live more fully. When we accept that everything is temporary, we become more present, more alive, and more at peace with whatever life brings our way. So, in this journey through life, learn to flow with the changes. Learn to let go of the need for control and certainty. Trust that everything, both good and bad, will pass in time. And as you move through life, carry this wisdom with you. Nothing is permanent, and that's okay. Because in that impermanence, there is freedom, growth, and endless possibility. Practicing compassion and loving kindness in tough times. Ah, my friend, when the storms of life are heavy, when challenges press down upon you, it is easy to turn inward, to feel alone, burdened by the weight of your struggles. Yet, in those moments, there is a path that can lift you above your suffering. That path is compassion and loving kindness. It may seem difficult to think of others when you are weighed down by your own troubles, but this is the very practice that can heal your heart and calm your mind. Let me tell you a story. Long ago, in a small village, there lived a man who faced many hardships. He had lost his job, his home was in disrepair, and every day felt like a battle just to survive. This man became bitter, blaming the world for his suffering. One day, he met an old monk who listened to his complaints quietly. After the man had spoken, the monk simply said, "When you are lost in your own pain, look for the pain of others. By easing their suffering, you will ease your own." The man didn't understand at first, but as he walked through his village, he noticed others struggling too. A neighbor who had lost his wife, a young boy with no food to eat, an old woman with no one to care for her. Slowly, he began helping where he could, sharing his food, offering a kind word, lending a hand. And as he did, something remarkable happened. The bitterness inside him began to melt away. Though his problems had not disappeared, his heart felt lighter, his mind clearer. In helping others, he found a deep sense of peace. This is the power of compassion, my friend. In times of difficulty, it is easy to become consumed by your own suffering. But when you extend your heart to others, you discover that you are not alone in your pain. There is a connection that binds us all together, and through this connection, healing can begin. In Buddhism, we speak often of metta, loving kindness. This is a form of compassion that is not limited to those we care about, but extends to all beings, even those who may have caused us harm. It is a practice of wishing well for others, of sending out thoughts of love, peace, and happiness to everyone, without exception. When you face tough times, practicing loving kindness can shift your perspective. Rather than focusing solely on your own troubles, you begin to see the struggles of others and open your heart to them. It is not about ignoring your own pain, but about expanding your awareness beyond it. This practice brings relief because it reminds us that suffering is a shared experience. We are not isolated in our hardships. Now, how do we practice loving kindness and compassion in our daily lives? The first step is simple: intention. You must set the intention to cultivate these qualities. Start each day by sitting quietly, closing your eyes, and repeating this thought in your mind. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. May I contribute to the happiness and well-being of others. This may seem like a small act, but over time, it has a profound effect on your state of mind. As you focus on the happiness of others, your heart softens. You begin to see the world not through the lens of your own suffering, but through the lens of compassion. This change in perception can ease your burden, helping you navigate tough times with more grace and peace. But, my friend, intention alone is not enough. We must also act with compassion. When someone comes to you in need, offer them kindness. This doesn't have to be grand gestures. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness are the most powerful. A kind word, a gentle smile, a listening ear. These simple acts can bring great comfort to those who are suffering. And as you offer kindness to others, you will find that it returns to you tenfold. There is a teaching in Buddhism that says, if you light a lamp for someone else, it will also brighten your path. Think about that for a moment. When you help another person, you are also helping yourself. By practicing compassion, you lift your own spirits, you brighten your own life. This is the beauty of compassion. It benefits both the giver and the receiver. But what about those who hurt us, those who cause us pain? This is where the practice becomes truly transformative. It is easy to be kind to those who are kind to us. But to extend loving kindness to those who have wronged us, that is the true test of compassion. In Buddhism, we learn that those who hurt us are often acting out of their own pain. They, too, are suffering. By offering them compassion, we break the cycle of anger and resentment. We free ourselves from the chains of bitterness and hatred. This doesn't mean we condone harmful actions. It means we understand that, at their core, all beings wish to be happy. Even those who act out of anger or cruelty are searching for peace in their own misguided way. By extending loving kindness to them, we create the possibility for healing, for both ourselves and the other person. So, how do we extend compassion to those who have hurt us? Begin by remembering that they, too, are human, that they, too, experience pain and suffering. Close your eyes and repeat the same loving kindness phrases. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. This is not about excusing their behavior, but about freeing your own heart from the poison of hatred. My friend, life will always present challenges. There will be times of joy and times of sorrow, moments of peace and moments of struggle. But through it all, compassion and loving kindness can be your anchor. They can guide you through the storm, helping you find peace even in the midst of chaos. When you practice compassion, you transform not only your own life but the lives of those around you. You become a source of light in a world that sometimes feels dark. And as that light shines, it touches others, inspiring them to practice compassion as well. In this way, loving kindness ripples out, creating a wave of goodness that spreads far beyond you. So, when you face tough times, remember this. Compassion is your greatest strength. It is the key to unlocking a heart of peace, even in the midst of suffering. By practicing loving kindness, you not only ease your own pain but help to heal the world around you. Let your heart be open, my friend. Let compassion flow through you, and watch as it transforms your life. Cultivating inner peace through meditation. Dear friend, sit with me for a while. Let's take a moment to pause, to be still, and to breathe. The world outside may be busy, full of noise and distractions, but here, within ourselves, there is a quiet place. A place where we can find peace no matter what is happening around us. This place can be reached through the simple practice of meditation. Meditation is not a complicated practice. It is not something reserved for monks in faraway temples, or for people who have hours to sit in silence. Meditation is available to everyone, in every moment. It is as simple as paying attention to your breath, letting go of the rush of thoughts, and finding stillness within. This is where we begin our journey toward inner peace. When life becomes difficult, when we feel overwhelmed, meditation becomes a powerful tool. It is like an anchor in a storm. While the waves of life crash around us, we can stay grounded, calm, and centered. We cannot control the storms that come, but we can choose how we respond to them. Meditation helps us respond with peace rather than panic. In Buddhism, meditation is one of the most important practices. The Buddha himself meditated to achieve enlightenment, and his teachings encourage us to do the same. Through meditation, we learn to quiet the mind, to observe our thoughts without judgment, and to create space between our emotions and our reactions. This space is where peace lives. Now, let's talk about how simple it is to start meditating. You don't need any special equipment. You don't need a perfect, quiet space. All you need is yourself, right here, right now. Start by finding a comfortable seat. You can sit on a chair, on the floor, or even lie down if that's more comfortable for you. Close your eyes if you like, or keep them softly open. Now, focus on your breath. Inhale deeply, then exhale slowly. Feel the air entering your body, filling your lungs, then leaving you. Don't force anything. Just breathe naturally, letting your breath flow in and out. This is your focus point. Whenever your mind wanders, and it will, that's okay. Gently bring your attention back to your breath. This is meditation. It's that simple. As you continue this practice, you may notice that your thoughts start to race. You might think about your to-do list, worries, or memories from the past. Don't worry about these thoughts. In meditation, we do not try to stop thinking. Instead, we simply notice the thoughts and let them go, like leaves floating down a river. Watch them come and go, but don't hold on to them. Let your breath guide you back to the present moment again and again. You see, dear friend, the mind is like a monkey, always jumping from one branch to another. It is restless, always seeking something to hold on to. But through meditation, we teach the mind to be still, to rest. It may take time, but with practice, the monkey mind becomes quiet and we find peace. Now, you may ask, what does this peace look like? How will I know I found it? Peace is not some grand event. It is not a loud, obvious moment. Rather, it is a quiet, subtle feeling. It is the absence of tension in your body, the slowing of your racing thoughts, the softening of your emotions. It is a deep breath that feels like relief. It is a sense of being present, right here, right now, without needing to change anything. Meditation also teaches us patience. Often, we want results quickly. We want peace, and we want it now. But like anything worth having, peace through meditation comes with time and practice. Some days, meditation will feel easy, and other days, it will be difficult. The mind may be more restless some days than others. This is normal. Do not judge your practice. Each moment you spend meditating is valuable. Even if you feel distracted or impatient, the practice itself is working, gently shaping your mind and heart over time. Let me share with you an ancient story that is often told to illustrate this point. There was once a farmer who found a seed, a very special seed that promised to grow into a magnificent tree. The farmer planted the seed with care and watered it every day. But after many weeks, he saw no sign of the tree. Impatient, he began to doubt whether the seed was good. But a wise elder told him, "Be patient. The tree grows first where you cannot see, deep in the earth. It spreads its roots, becoming strong and stable. Only when it is ready will it break through the surface." And so the farmer continued to care for the seed. One day, when he least expected it, a small green sprout appeared. Meditation is much like this. The benefits may not be visible right away, but beneath the surface, change is happening. Your mind is becoming stronger, your heart more stable, and one day, you will notice that peace has taken root in your life, quietly but powerfully. Through meditation, we also learn to accept the present moment as it is. In life, we often resist what is happening, especially if it is unpleasant or painful. We want things to be different. But in meditation, we practice acceptance. We learn to sit with whatever arises, whether it is joy, sadness, anger, or fear. We do not try to change it or push it away. Instead, we observe it, allowing it to come and go, just like our breath. This acceptance is key to inner peace. When we stop resisting life, when we stop wishing things were different, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. This does not mean we become passive or stop striving for positive change. It simply means we stop fighting against reality. We acknowledge what is happening, and we respond with wisdom and calmness. In tough times, this acceptance is especially important. Challenges and hardships are part of life. No one can escape them, but how we face them makes all the difference. Meditation teaches us to face our difficulties with grace and resilience. Instead of being swept away by fear or anger, we remain centered. Instead of reacting impulsively, we respond mindfully. You see, dear friend, meditation is not just something we do while sitting quietly. It is a way of living. The peace we cultivate during our practice carries over into our daily lives. It helps us remain calm in stressful situations, to think clearly when we are overwhelmed, and to treat others with kindness even when we are upset. Through meditation, we become more patient, more compassionate, and more understanding, both of ourselves and of others. So, I invite you to make meditation a part of your daily life. Even if it is just for a few minutes each day, take the time to sit, breathe, and be present. You may be surprised by how much this simple practice can change your life. Peace is not something we must chase. It is already within us, waiting to be discovered. All we need to do is be still, and it will reveal itself. The middle way, balance in life and hardship. Life is a journey filled with ups and downs. Sometimes it feels like we are soaring high, and at other times, we may find ourselves deep in valleys of despair. In these moments, the concept of the middle way can guide us. This teaching, central to Buddhism, helps us find balance and harmony in our lives, especially during tough times. The middle way is about avoiding extremes. Often, we react to life's challenges by going to one end of the spectrum. We might indulge in our emotions, feeling overwhelmed by sadness, anger, or fear. Alternatively, we might suppress these feelings, pretending everything is fine while inside we are struggling. The middle way teaches us to acknowledge our feelings without becoming consumed by them. It encourages us to find a path of moderation. Imagine you are faced with a challenging situation, such as losing a job. You could react in two extreme ways. On one hand, you might allow despair to take over, thinking, "I'll never find another job," leading to feelings of hopelessness. On the other hand, you could bury your emotions and say, "I'll just move on. It's no big deal," ignoring the pain of the loss. The middle way invites you to feel your emotions fully, yet not let them control you. It's okay to feel sad about the job loss, but it's also important to take steps forward without dwelling in negativity. This balance doesn't mean being indifferent to life's challenges. Instead, it's about responding wisely. The Buddha teaches us to recognize our suffering and to be present with it. In this awareness, we find clarity. We can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this situation? How can I grow? By doing this, we transform suffering into a source of wisdom. Finding the middle way also helps us in our daily choices. When we face decisions, we often feel pressure to choose one extreme or the other. Should I push myself to work harder or take a break? Should I speak up in a conversation or remain silent? The middle way encourages us to consider all aspects and find a balanced approach. It teaches us that sometimes the best answer lies in moderation. For instance, working hard is essential, but so is rest. Speaking up is important, yet listening is equally vital. In Buddhism, the middle way extends beyond our personal struggles. It also applies to how we interact with others. We live in a world where people have different opinions, beliefs, and experiences. The middle way encourages us to approach these differences with understanding rather than judgment. It teaches us to listen to others without automatically agreeing or disagreeing. This openness helps create harmony in our relationships and fosters a sense of community. Furthermore, the middle way can help us navigate our thoughts. Our minds often swing between negative and positive thoughts. When faced with challenges, we might think, I'm not good enough, or this will never work out. These extremes can trap us in a cycle of negativity. The middle way reminds us to observe our thoughts without attaching to them. We can acknowledge, I have this thought, but it doesn't define me. By doing so, we create space for more balanced, constructive thinking. Practicing the middle way also involves self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on ourselves when we face difficulties. We might think we should handle everything perfectly, but the middle way teaches us that we are human, and it's okay to struggle. Treat yourself with kindness during tough times. Remind yourself that it's normal to feel lost or confused. By embracing self-compassion, we can find balance within ourselves. As we walk this path of balance, mindfulness plays a crucial role. Being mindful means being fully present in the moment, without judgment. It allows us to notice our feelings and thoughts as they arise. With mindfulness, we can practice the middle way more effectively. For example, during a stressful moment, instead of reacting automatically, we can pause, breathe, and assess the situation. This pause gives us the chance to choose a balanced response. Incorporating the middle way into our daily lives takes practice. Start small. Notice moments when you lean towards an extreme reaction. Ask yourself, how can I find balance here? Gradually, you'll learn to navigate life's challenges with greater ease. The goal is not to achieve perfection, but to embrace the journey of finding balance. The middle way also teaches us about acceptance. Life is filled with uncertainties and challenges. Instead of resisting what we cannot control, we can practice acceptance. This doesn't mean we give up. Rather, we acknowledge reality as it is. When we accept our circumstances, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Acceptance allows us to move forward with a clear mind and an open heart. As we explore this middle way, remember that it is a lifelong practice. It requires patience and dedication. Each time we choose balance over extremes, we are taking steps toward greater peace and happiness. Embrace the journey and know that every effort counts. In conclusion, the middle way offers us a powerful framework for navigating life's ups and downs. It teaches us to find balance, practice mindfulness, and embrace acceptance. By following this path, we can cultivate resilience and transform our challenges into opportunities for growth. Let us strive to live in the middle way, for it is in this balance that we discover the true essence of peace and happiness. The power of karma, actions, and consequences. In the vast world of existence, every action carries a weight. This weight is known as karma. Imagine you're planting seeds in a garden. If you plant seeds of kindness and compassion, what do you think will grow? Sweet fruits of joy and positivity, right? Conversely, if you plant seeds of negativity or harm, you might end up with thorns and weeds. This simple analogy helps us understand the nature of karma. Every action we take, no matter how small, leads to consequences that shape our lives. Karma is not a punishment, but rather a natural law of cause and effect. When you do something good, you create positive karma. When you act harmfully, negative karma is produced. It's like tossing a stone into a still pond. The ripples move outward and affect everything around them. Therefore, it is crucial to recognize that our actions matter. They not only affect us, but also those around us. In Buddhism, karma plays a significant role in teaching us responsibility. When faced with tough times, we might feel like we are victims of circumstances. However, it is essential to reflect on our actions and how they have brought us to this moment. Did we make choices that aligned with our values, or did we let negativity guide us? By understanding karma, we can learn to make better choices moving forward. When you practice kindness, generosity, and understanding, you create a foundation of positive karma. It is a gentle reminder that we have the power to influence our lives and the lives of others positively. Even in difficult moments, focusing on our actions can bring hope and light. Let's take a moment to consider a simple daily example. Picture someone who is having a bad day. They might snap at a colleague or frown at a stranger. These small actions, fueled by frustration, can create a ripple effect of negativity. But what if that person chose to pause and smile instead? A smile has the power to uplift not only the person who receives it, but also the one who gives it. This shift in action can lead to a more positive environment, proving that every small action counts. As we navigate through life's challenges, we can consciously choose our actions. Instead of reacting with anger or despair, we can choose patience, compassion, and understanding. This doesn't mean ignoring our feelings. It means responding to them thoughtfully. By practicing mindfulness, we can catch ourselves in moments of frustration and choose to act positively. Now, let's reflect on how this understanding of karma can help us remain positive during tough times. When we face adversity, it is easy to feel overwhelmed. In these moments, we can remember that our actions can lead us toward a better outcome. Even when the world feels heavy, we have the ability to plant seeds of positivity. One key aspect of karma is the understanding that it takes time. Just like a seed takes time to grow into a tree, our positive actions may not show immediate results. However, with patience and persistence, we can cultivate a garden of positive experiences. This teaches us that even in the darkest times, hope exists. We must trust the process of growth, knowing that our efforts will eventually bear fruit. Additionally, the practice of forgiveness plays a significant role in our understanding of karma. Holding on to grudges or negative feelings only weighs us down. When we forgive others and ourselves, we release that heavy burden and create space for positive karma to flourish. It's a gift we give to ourselves, allowing us to move forward without the chains of resentment. Karma also encourages us to reflect on our intentions. Before taking action, ask yourself, what is my intention? If your intention is rooted in kindness and compassion, then you are on the right path. However, if it is driven by anger or fear, it may lead to negative outcomes. By consciously aligning our actions with positive intentions, we can create a more fulfilling and harmonious life. In essence, understanding karma helps us to navigate tough times with grace. When we face challenges, instead of succumbing to negativity, we can respond with actions that uplift ourselves and others. This is the transformative power of karma. It reminds us that we are not just passive participants in our lives. We are active creators of our reality. As we continue our journey, let us remember that every moment presents an opportunity to choose wisely. In the face of adversity, let us plant seeds of positivity, compassion, and love. Our actions, big or small, can make a significant impact. By embracing the teachings of karma, we can cultivate a life filled with meaning and joy, even when the going gets tough. In summary, the power of karma reminds us that our actions have consequences. It teaches us to act with intention and compassion, leading us toward a more positive existence. As we reflect on our choices, let us be mindful of the seeds we are planting in the garden of our lives. Together, we can navigate challenges with a heart full of hope and a spirit ready to grow. Detachment, letting go of what you cannot control. In the heart of Buddhist teachings lies a simple yet profound idea: detachment. This idea is about understanding what we can and cannot control in our lives. Imagine standing at the edge of a flowing river. You see the water rushing past, carrying leaves and branches away with it. You can't stop the river. It flows regardless of your wishes. Similarly, life flows on, bringing us joy and challenges that we cannot always change. Many times, we find ourselves attached to outcomes. We think, I need this job, or I must have this relationship. When things don't go as we wish, we feel disappointment, anger, or sadness. But what if we could learn to let go? What if we could release our grip on these outcomes and find peace within ourselves? Detachment does not mean we stop caring. Instead, it is about caring deeply while accepting that we cannot control every aspect of life. Think of a flower. When it blooms, it brings beauty and joy. But if it withers, it doesn't mean it was never beautiful. It simply fulfilled its time. We, too, can embrace the beauty of our lives without clinging to how things should be. To practice detachment, we can start by observing our thoughts. When we feel attached to something, we can ask ourselves, is this within my control? If the answer is no, we can practice letting it go. This can be difficult, but with time and patience, it becomes easier. Imagine holding a hot coal in your hand. The longer you hold it, the more it burns. But if you release it, the pain stops. Letting go can feel similar. In our daily lives, we often worry about things that are beyond our control. The weather, other people's feelings, or the outcomes of situations can cause us stress. Instead of clinging to these worries, we can choose to focus on what we can control: our actions, our responses, and our thoughts. Let's take a moment to think about how this applies to relationships. Many of us have experienced moments of longing or sadness when a relationship changes or ends. We may wish for things to return to how they once were, but sometimes that is simply not possible. When we cling to the past, we may miss the beauty of the present. Instead, we can choose to cherish the moments we had and look forward to what lies ahead. Meditation can be a helpful tool in learning detachment. When we sit in silence, we allow ourselves to observe our thoughts without judgment. We can notice when we become attached to certain ideas or outcomes and practice letting them drift away like clouds in the sky. With regular practice, this skill strengthens, and we learn to live more freely. In the teachings of Buddhism, the concept of non-attachment encourages us to enjoy life's experiences without clinging to them. We can still celebrate our victories and cherish our relationships, but we learn that our happiness does not depend on them. Imagine a child playing with a toy. When the child finishes playing, they can put the toy down without sadness, knowing they can play again later. This is the essence of non-attachment. Detachment also helps us face life's inevitable changes. Just as the seasons shift, so do the circumstances in our lives. By accepting change, we can move forward with grace. When we cling to the idea of permanence, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Instead, we can find joy in the present moment, knowing it is fleeting yet beautiful. In conclusion, embracing detachment allows us to navigate life's challenges with a lighter heart. It teaches us to find peace in the midst of chaos. As we practice letting go, we create space for new experiences and opportunities to enter our lives. Remember, just as the river flows, so does life. We can stand at the riverbank, observing and appreciating the journey without trying to control the flow. Embracing detachment helps us stay positive and resilient, no matter what life throws our way. Resilience and growth, transforming challenges into strength. Life is a journey, and along this path, we encounter many obstacles. Some are small, like a rainy day that disrupts our plans, while others are large, like losing a job or facing health issues. These challenges can feel overwhelming. But what if we could see them as opportunities for growth? In Buddhism, we learn that every difficulty can teach us something valuable, and it is in these tough times that we often discover our true strength. Imagine a seed buried deep in the soil. It must push through the heavy dirt and face the darkness to grow into a beautiful plant. Similarly, we must often struggle against the challenges in our lives to reach our fullest potential. Every obstacle is like the dirt for the seed. It may seem like a hindrance at first, but it can also be a stepping stone towards something greater. When we face difficulties, we can choose how to respond. Do we let them defeat us, or do we rise above? The teachings of the Buddha remind us that resilience is not about never falling down. It is about getting back up every time we do. This means recognizing our feelings, allowing ourselves to feel pain, and then choosing to move forward. It is okay to cry, to feel anger, or to be afraid. These emotions are part of being human. The key is not to let them control us. One powerful practice we can adopt is mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to be present with our thoughts and feelings without judgment. When we encounter a challenge, we can take a moment to breathe deeply and observe what we are feeling. Instead of reacting immediately, we can pause and reflect. This practice helps us to respond to difficulties with clarity rather than letting our emotions drive us. When we stay calm, we can see solutions that we might have missed in a rush of anger or fear. Another important aspect of resilience is self-compassion. It is easy to be hard on ourselves when things go wrong. We might think, I should have done better, or why can't I handle this? But the Buddha teaches us to be gentle with ourselves. Just as we would comfort a friend who is struggling, we should offer that same kindness to ourselves. Remember, it is okay to not be okay sometimes. We are all on our unique paths, and each step, whether forward or backward, is part of our journey. As we practice resilience, we begin to notice something remarkable. We grow stronger. Each time we face a challenge and come out the other side, we build a reservoir of strength and wisdom. This is like lifting weights at the gym. At first, it is difficult, but over time, our muscles become stronger, and we can handle heavier weights. The same is true for our emotional and mental strength. Each experience makes us a little more resilient. Moreover, it is essential to connect with others during tough times. When we share our struggles with friends, family, or a community, we find support that can uplift us. The Buddha emphasized the importance of sangha, or community, in our spiritual practice. When we lean on others, we realize we are not alone in our challenges. This connection can provide comfort and remind us that everyone faces difficulties. By sharing our stories, we can inspire others and receive inspiration in return. Let us also remember that every challenge is temporary. Just like the seasons change, so too do our circumstances. What feels overwhelming today may not feel the same tomorrow. In Buddhism, we embrace the concept of impermanence. Everything is constantly changing. This understanding can help us maintain perspective when facing challenges. We can remind ourselves that this too shall pass. The storm will eventually give way to sunshine. As we cultivate resilience and learn to view challenges as opportunities, we also discover the power of gratitude. It might seem strange, but being grateful even during tough times can shift our perspective dramatically. When we focus on what we are thankful for, we shift our minds away from negativity. For instance, if we lose a job, instead of only feeling fear and uncertainty, we can also think about the new opportunities that may arise. Perhaps this is a chance to pursue a passion or develop new skills. Finally, let's acknowledge that growth often comes from discomfort. Just as the butterfly must struggle to break free from its cocoon, we too must push through our struggles to emerge stronger and wiser. Each challenge helps shape us into who we are meant to be. The more we embrace this idea, the more we will find that our difficulties are not roadblocks, but rather stepping stones toward a richer, more fulfilling life. In conclusion, resilience is about transforming our challenges into strength and growth. It is about recognizing that every obstacle can teach us something valuable. By practicing mindfulness, self-compassion, and connection with others, we can navigate the storms of life with grace and strength. Remember, like the seed that pushes through the dirt, we too can rise above our struggles and flourish. The path may be tough, but with each step, we grow more resilient, ready to face whatever comes our way. Embrace the journey, for it is in the challenges that we find our true selves. Conclusion, a final word on staying positive in tough times. As we come to the end of our journey together, let us pause for a moment and reflect on everything we have learned about staying positive in tough times. Life is full of ups and downs, and understanding how to navigate these challenges is crucial for our well-being. Remember, the teachings of Buddhism offer us powerful insights into how to maintain a positive mindset, even when faced with adversity. Throughout this series, we explored the nature of suffering. We learned that suffering is a part of life, and it is not something we can completely escape. But what we can do is change how we respond to it. The Four Noble Truths teach us that recognizing suffering and understanding its causes can lead us to a path of healing and happiness. By acknowledging our pain, we can begin to transform it into wisdom and strength. We also discussed the importance of mindfulness. Being present in the moment allows us to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. When tough times arise, instead of getting lost in negativity, mindfulness helps us step back and find a place of calm within ourselves. It teaches us to breathe, to pause, and to be aware of what is happening around us. This practice allows us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Embracing impermanence is another vital lesson. Everything in life is temporary, including our struggles. Just as the seasons change, so do our experiences. When we accept that tough times will pass, we can find comfort in knowing that brighter days are ahead. This understanding helps us to let go of our fears and anxieties, allowing us to stay positive even when life feels heavy. Compassion plays a crucial role in maintaining a positive mindset. By cultivating compassion for ourselves and others, we create a supportive environment where love and understanding can flourish. When we face challenges, it is easy to become self-critical or to blame others. But when we practice compassion, we open our hearts to healing. We learn to support ourselves through our struggles, and we can extend that same support to those around us. This creates a positive ripple effect, lifting not just our spirits, but also the spirits of those we encounter. Meditation is a powerful tool that helps us cultivate inner peace. When we take the time to sit quietly and connect with our breath, we can center ourselves amidst chaos. Meditation teaches us to observe our thoughts without getting caught up in them. It helps us create a space where positivity can thrive, even in the face of adversity. As we develop a regular meditation practice, we become more resilient and better equipped to handle whatever life throws our way. The middle way reminds us that balance is essential. In times of difficulty, we may swing between extremes of emotion, feeling overly hopeful or completely defeated. The middle way encourages us to find harmony in our responses. It teaches us to be realistic about our challenges while also holding on to hope. This balance allows us to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience. The concept of karma is a reminder that our actions matter. Every thought, word, and deed has consequences. When we choose positivity, we create a path of kindness and goodwill that benefits not just ourselves but also others. By focusing on positive actions, we can influence our circumstances and cultivate a life filled with joy and abundance. Detachment is a profound practice that allows us to let go of what we cannot control. Life is unpredictable, and clinging to outcomes often leads to suffering. By practicing detachment, we free ourselves from the chains of expectation. We learn to flow with life's currents, embracing change rather than resisting it. This sense of freedom empowers us to stay positive, no matter the situation. As we reflect on resilience, we recognize that tough times can be transformative. Every challenge we face has the potential to make us stronger and wiser. When we approach difficulties with an open heart and mind, we can discover new strengths we never knew we had. Resilience is not just about bouncing back. It is about growing through adversity. It is a testament to our ability to adapt, learn, and thrive, even in the hardest of times. Finally, let us remember the importance of gratitude. In every moment, there is something to be thankful for. By focusing on the good, even when life is tough, we shift our mindset from one of lack to one of abundance. Gratitude opens our hearts and minds to positivity, helping us to see the light in dark times. When we cultivate a habit of gratitude, we create a reservoir of joy that nourishes our spirits. As we conclude our journey together, I invite you to carry these lessons with you. Staying positive in tough times is not just about putting on a brave face. It is about embracing the full spectrum of human experience with compassion, mindfulness, and wisdom. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity for growth, and with the right mindset, you can transform your struggles into stepping stones toward a more fulfilling life. Thank you for being part of this journey. May you find peace and positivity in every moment, and may your path be filled with light, love, and resilience.